Working on it.
This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on January 12th, 2026, and was posted on the borough website at www.hpborough.com and on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to the left and right of chambers, and please, as always, remember to speak into the microphone. This is the Highland Park Planning Board, August 13th, 2026 meeting. All right. First up, we'll say our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and happy 250th summer anniversary. So to all of us. All right, Jen, if we could have roll call, please.
Ms. Hand?
Yes.
Mr. Brusher?
Here.
Mr. Chin? Ms. Hadhazi? Mr. Hale?
Here.
Mr. Ho?
Present.
Mr. Linares? Mr. Malay?
Here.
Mr. Furman?
Here.
Mr. Stern Cardinal?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Cosenza?
Here.
And Mr. Robinson.
Okay, first up on our agenda tonight, we're going to have a public hearing on the property identified as block 3301, lot 27.01, commonly known as the Buckwoods property, along with all streets and rights of ways appurtenant thereto, known as the study area, and whether that should be designated as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment in accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law and JSA 40A:12A-1 etc. And with that, I'll turn over the presentation on that question to our planner.
Thank you.
So what was that?
Shall we sworn in first?
Yes, I'm going to have you. You swear affirm the testimony that you're about to give away the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Will
Yes.
you kind enough to state your name, spell your last name, and location of your offices, please?
Chris Cosenza, Cosenza, office at 1218 Chestnut Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And in fact, Chris, you have been the borough planner for a period, considerable period of time, correct?
Yes, and also the planning board planner.
And in fact, further, you have been responsible for what is described as the preliminary investigation and non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment for property otherwise known as Buckwoods, block 3301, block 27.01. Is that right?
Yes.
And would you be kind enough to provide us and the members of the public with your investigation process?
Sure. So let's go through the presentation. Share my screen.
And what I would ask is that if this is a PowerPoint presentation.
It is, yes.
Okay, well, we, at some point, what we can do is if we kind of mark this as a noise part of the record.
It was a hard record. And
Subsequently submit that.
yes, and I'll work with the borough clerk to have this a PDF and post it on our
That would be
website.
wonderful.
Are we good here? Yep. Yeah, thank you. All right, Mr. Thomas, Madam Chair, thank you for having me make this presentation. So this is a preliminary investigation for Buckwoods property, block 3301, block 27.01, prepared for the Highland Park Planning Board, dated July 23rd, 2026. As we typically do for these presentations, I go through a really 6-part agenda, doing a really general overview of why are we here, why are we doing this, what's the scope of this preliminary investigation, just a real quick outline of the redevelopment statute, and then I go into the study area of the Buckwoods site specifically in terms of its context as well as the evaluation itself, and then I will provide a summary of the conclusion, which is in the report. So I'll start with the context. This is a 4.5 acre site at the terminus of South 6th Avenue between South 5th and South 7th Avenues. This is primarily a single family residential area in the borough's southeastern portion of the community, bounded to the south by wooded undeveloped land. So for purposes of background, just for clarification, this is not critical for the purposes of the preliminary investigation, but I do want to give background as to why we are here. So starting in 1974 through 1995, the site was used as a dumping ground for demolition debris. Railroad materials really tied as part of the Route 27 redevelopment during that time. And then late 1990s, JSM at Highland Park LLC, they purchased the property from the Bucks. And in 2007, they sued the borough over the dumping that occurred for the decades prior. In 2008 and through 2017, there was litigation. A suit was first filed and later dismissed without prejudice. This was to allow for the borough and JSM to pursue settlement, which included a possible land swap at that time. A lawsuit was refiled in 2017. Around this time, the borough was ordered to issue, I believe, 2 tree removal permits to allow for environmental testing of the site as part of that demolition debris that was dumped on the property. In 2019, the court ordered the borough responsible for the dumping, and separately, the borough also adopted the multifamily affordable housing zone, overlay zone, as part of its 3rd round affordable housing settlement. And that's really to address its 4th round plan, which is now starting 2025. From 2020 to 2022, those parties, meaning the borough and JSM, they exchanged expert reports on excavation and removal. Basically, what it comes down to is the damages claim is in excess of millions as accepted by the court. In 2023, 2024, this board heard a site plan and a subdivision application for the Buckwoods property for a 75-unit project. This is in compliance with the multifamily housing overlay from the 2019 zoning amendment. And from 2023 to 2026, the borough and JSM continued to go through negotiations, and recently, as adopted by resolution council, there was a settlement agreement, which brings us here to tonight. So the general summary is that the settlement agreement is really contingent upon the borough proceeding with a study and an acceptable redevelopment plan. So it sounds like this is a done deal. We have to do this, but we should disregard that. We need to study this and the findings, make a determination whether this property does qualify as an area in need of redevelopment, specifically non-condemnation. The property already holds land use approvals, but that should have no bearing on what the findings of the study rolls out. But for background purposes, the settlement does increase the unit count from 75 units from the 2023 approval to 148, but with little change.
148, correct?
Yeah, 148 units, but with little change to the approved building footprint or building height. You might ask, how is that possible? It's because there's smaller units, more of a traditional 1, 2, 3 bedroom mix instead of the 2, 3, and 4 bedroom mix in the original approval. In exchange, as part of the settlement, this is really where the community benefits come into place for a future redevelopment plan. Again, this is in the settlement or a public record. So in exchange, JSM will build several off-site community benefits. This includes a second means of access. There's many concerns that was raised by committees as well as this board about how to get better access to the site. So there will be a second means of access, which that will better distribute traffic and improves the buffering to the neighboring homes. At long last, a connector road will be built from South 5th to South 7th Avenues to connect those neighborhoods. And a walking trail from South 6th Avenue will be extended to the existing trail network, really connecting Graham all the way down to the existing trail network. And really an idea that was sparked from the planning board application was the idea of a pocket park at Mansfield and South 6th. And this will be improved with the playground. So JSM has agreed to have that part of their plan or future redevelopment plan if this moves forward. So the scope of the study, it's a typical report that I do conduct an inventory, review records, and for this particular property, there was not that many records since there's no building on it. But there are plenty of environmental reports. I would thank the borough clerk for giving me a boatload of materials and review. Although there is one interesting report that will indicate what that was, and you'll be, I think some planning board members will be surprised that this happened. I also reviewed the zoning ordinance, master plan, analyzed physical conditions, meaning site inspection, and through this report, indicate the findings and make recommendations what the borough council and planning board should do. In terms of the redevelopment statute, as you all know, it's a better means of guiding municipalities through rehabilitation and redevelopment. There's many advantages to it. You have a site-specific redevelopment plan, detailed design standards, and you can designate qualified redevelopers. So all the goodies that do not come with the underlying base zoning. There's a specific process that must be met before a redevelopment plan could be adopted. You have to designate the property as an area in need of rehabilitation or redevelopment first, and then you could adopt a redevelopment plan, typically similar to a land development ordinance, which is an ordinance introduced by council, goes to planning board for consistency review, and back to council for adoption. So we're going to be getting phases. We are in the middle of the preliminary investigation on one side, which is to hold a public hearing on the study. There are several statutory requirements that must be met in order for the property to be designated as an area in need of redevelopment.
We should
Just
note that Mr. Ramirez is here.
so for purposes of the redevelopment statute, summarized as the local redevelopment housing law only requires that one of the 8 criteria need to be met in order for the property to be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. Property just needs to meet one of these. And there's different conditions, and I can explain them a little bit later, one by one, in relation to the property itself. There's also the section 3 criteria. This is literally the definition of the redevelopment area. A redevelopment area may include properties that are not in itself determined to be an area in need of development, and but it's necessary to be included for the effective redevelopment of every area. And that's also reflected in the redevelopment handbook that planners often use. This won't be necessary because it's one single property. There's no other properties to include. So any other matter is this report. I'm proud in the work that I do. I try to be very objective. This is not meant to be a windshield study. Yeah, I looked at it. It meets criteria. Trust me. You have to really look at the statute, rely on the plain meaning, both parts of it, especially for criteria C, which we're talking about tonight. And this report should not just be a net opinion. You cannot rely on me saying it just meets the statute because it does. I need to give you substantial evidence. So going into the zoning and redevelopment history. So I talked about the litigation and the settlement agreements. I'm going to go into the zoning and redevelopment history. Back in 1999, 2000, this planning board, albeit with a different membership, perhaps, heard on over 11 public hearing applications. They denied a 22 lot subdivision. In 2013, this is where I was like, I want to remind you, this is odd. Alan may remember this. This planning board recommended designating Buckwoods Upper and Lower Meadows as an area in need of redevelopment, but the council did not take action. So this body already determined the Buckwoods site to be an area in need of redevelopment. But we start over in 2026. 2016, the entire borough designated the whole town, including the study area, as an area in need of rehabilitation. 2019, you recall, the overlay zone was adopted as part of a 3rd round affordable housing settlement. And 2023, this board adopted a resolution approving the site plan for a 75-unit apartment building site. And in 2024, this board again adopted a subdivision application, which is really a consolidation of lots 27 through 75 into a single lot, 27.01. And despite these approvals, the site remains vacant and undeveloped. So the current zoning designation of base zoning, the underlying zoning is RA-E, residential ecological zoning with an overlay for MFAH as the multifamily affordable housing overlay zone. That's the current zoning in place. In terms of current land use, from a land use perspective, it's private vacant land, and upon review of older aerials, it's clear that the property has been vacant since at least 2012. And of course, the 2013 report prepared by the planner at that time, Clark Payton Ince, in that study, the property was also vacant for at least 10 years at that time. So it's clear this property has been vacant for at least 20 years. In terms of the steep slopes, as you can see with the photographs, the site conditions, as well as the mapping from the master plan, much of the site is encumbered by steep slopes. The yellow is the 15% plus, the orange is 20+%, and the red, typically mainly on the southwestern edge, is the 25% slopes. Anything more than 15% really encumbers the site in terms of buildable area. In terms of environmental contamination, there's a long history that was expressed in the 2013 report. So this report incorporates that by reference and includes recent activities about really the story of environmental contamination. This goes back to 1997. There's a phase 1 assessment by Ecol Sciences, which found demolition debris, asphalt, and trash nearby neighboring homes. Test pits in 1999 confirmed there was a historic fill. Silt and sand mixed with concrete and asphalt. It's consistent with the fragments found from the demolition debris that was deposited on the site, and found that this fill was unsuitable for construction. and the borough's own environmental consultant recommended a full hazardous substance investigation. And over the years, investigations carried out confirmed petroleum hydrocarbons as well as PAH, this was another form of hydrocarbons, along with arsenic and lead, all of which exceeded NJDEP standards. Recently, in 2019, JSM site investigation confirmed the contamination is, again, predominantly historic fill, and in litigation, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, determined through expert testimony, not my own, but expert testimony, that remediation would be in excess of $5 million. This was just some brief site photos. It was a hot day and difficult to walk because it's steep slopes and debris. There's really trash and household goods throughout the site. The asphalt, concrete filling, some metal, railroad ties still visible, tires, and some household goods found throughout the site, especially along the edges, which was to be expected by the nearby homes. The steep slopes were in a concerning condition, but I'm not an expert. Clearly, there's some erosion and debris falling. So obviously, these are concerning conditions, but these conditions of themselves did not contribute to the report because there's no building, no improvements on site. So frankly, for these purposes, the photographs could be disregarded since they did not help meet the criteria. So of the 8 criteria, it's my professional opinion, they meet 2 criteria. Criterion C, which is public or unimproved vacant land for at least 10 years. There's a second part, and it's because the conditions of the land, soil conditions and whatnot, and it cannot be developed through private instrumentality. So there's 2 parts of the statute. It's not because it's vacant for 10 years. It's vacant and because it cannot be developed through private instrumentality. And then because it meets at least one of the first 7 criteria, we can also utilize criterion H, smart growth consistency. A little bit more detail about why. So criterion C, again, it's vacant, unimproved for well over 20 years. And frankly, it's never been developed. So it's been for hundreds of years. The sole improved access is only from South 6th Avenue. Graham Street remains a unimproved paper street. Having that ability to improve that street would make for a better access. Again, the steep slopes show that, especially those in excess of 15%, they really do limit the buildable area what could be redeveloped. And remediation costs, again, through expert testimony accepted by the court, is in excess of $5 million. Together, all these conditions show that the property is not likely to be developed through private capital alone. Criterion H, smart growth consistency. This is really simple. Quite frankly, study area sits entirely within state plans, metropolitan planning area PA1, which is designated as a smart growth area. I did want to note that for purposes of continuity, the 2013 report by this planning board accepted, reached the same conclusion as my report did, which is it met criteria C and H. And that report also cited the same steep slope, the wooded terrain, 1,000 cubic yards. I think it was 60,000 cubic yards of debris to be removed, and has pointed to the need for that contaminated fill to be excavated. And the borough's own planning documents, going back to 2003 master plan, identified this site as an opportunity for redevelopment. And their re-examination report back in 2010 also named this site as an at-risk property. So for the same reasons that this board made in 2013, it's my recommendation in 2026 that we make the finding that the property does meet the C criterion because it is vacant and unimproved for well over 10 years, and because of the conditions to limit the ability of the property to be developed in private capital alone, and criteria C for smart growth consistency. My recommendation is for the planning board to accept the resolution or other communication to determine if the area does meet the criteria as a non-combination area need redevelopment, and for the borough council to do the same.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to open up the meeting to members of the board who might have questions or follow-up. David?
First. So, thanks, Chris. Great testimony. More of a process question, so either you can answer or Roger. So you said, like, regardless of the site plan, we're almost starting over in a sense. So we're hearing the preliminary investigation, making a recommendation to council. Then that goes through. There would be a redevelopment plan coming back here for a final plan. Let's see, we would see that.
Yes.
And then a revised site plan would come back here.
Yes, you would see if the redevelopment plan is adopted, then you would see an amended site plan.
So basically, we're starting over again, sort of, right? I mean, sort of, just round two, but really starting, now we're going through the redevelopment process. Before it was an ordinance and then we heard a site plan. Now we're gonna have a redevelopment plan, maybe.
Yeah.
New site plan, new testimony, again. Okay.
Yes, and the redevelopment plan will basically put in place new zoning, which will allow for the settlement agreement of 148 units plus all the goodies, those community benefits that are offered by.
A new road that we didn't see that was in the site plan. We would see that again and.
Yes, you're gonna see it at least 2 more times.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah,
pumpkin farm.
Because, you know.
Yes, it is absolutely a long process, but it's been a long process, complicated by the issues of the land itself, as has been outlined by Chris in terms of its environmental sensitivity, I'll call it that, and by the subsequent litigation that's occurred. So it has a long history, and it has gone through any number of iterations, and now we're at a point where we're at the third, maybe, and from what I gather, it might even be the fourth or fifth, based upon what Chris is able to unearth. Excuse the pun.
So the answer to the first question kind of answers my second, and then, but, because when I saw this on the agenda, I was thinking, well, if the applicant, developer, had already gotten a settlement from the town, had already put together a site plan, had already received an approval and was working on meeting the conditions of the approval. I see the email coming through from the engineer and others meeting the conditions. Well, then that means that the property can be developed within private capital because you approved the site plan. The developer made representations that they can develop the property. And so why would we just meet the statutory criteria? But if we're starting over again, then we're starting over again. And so it's not necessary. I just wanted to clear that.
That prior site plan did involve other settlement terms, right? There
Yes,
was,
it did.
yeah.
And you still ended up having the issue, excuse me. The fact of the matter is that that site plan was approved, no question about it. You will note, however, that while it's a site plan, it is a piece of paper, it is not a building. That's number one. Number two, there still remains the remediation costs that have been estimated to be in excess of $5 million. I've heard the number a number of years ago, but I didn't realize it was that long. It's 2017, but time does fly. When I heard the number of $6 million. With inflation, that for all I know is now $10 million. The issue is that it's still an issue because the plan may have come to approval, but that doesn't mean it was a buildable plan taking into account that remediation cost. So therefore, it had to come back. It has come back, taking that into account, and it's undeveloped for those reasons. So it is. I understand the thought process, Jeff. That well, they came in with a site plan, they got approval. What's the big deal? The big deal is they haven't been able to do anything with it because the question becomes how do you build a project that has a $5+ million or $7 million cost, and now that has, at least in theory, been resolved. We hope and think.
Roger, how has that been resolved? You talk about the 5 million?
I'm talking about the fact that there is going to now be a settlement agreement by
With JSM?
involving one of the main issues, and I was never involved in that, so I'm sort of talking a little bit out of hearsay, a lot out of hearsay.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, part of that litigation was the fact that there were these determinations that were made by a judge, and the allegations were made by the developer that the borough was a major contributor to these problems, and a judge ultimately found that the borough was a major contributor to those problems, and therefore the settlement is now, and I, again, not being involved in the settlement agreement, but my understanding is as a result of these modifications that have allowed the developer to take that same plan and change it from 75 units to 148 units, has now allowed them to say it becomes a presumably from their
Financial.
marketing viewpoint and their financial viewpoint,
Right.
a viable project taking into account the remediation of the site.
Sure.
Now, I haven't done the analysis, but obviously.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're still involved.
Yes, they are. They will, well, one assumes that this process will continue. This is only an interim phase. And they will presumably be back for a site plan before this board at some point in time.
Yes.
Go ahead, Paige.
So according to this, well, this is not pursuant to the, need to redevelopment, but will then the property owner be responsible for the mitigation, but also, let's say, health things that happen because of failures to mitigate, or will the borough still be on the hook for responsibility if we build? That's it just seems, I don't know, that's one.
I don't know that this board is in a position.
No, I'm
to
just-
make-
it's just-
And it's a question, it's an interesting question. I don't know that this board has, I can tell you that I don't have sufficient information because I've not had the opportunity to review the settlement agreement, nor have I been involved in those negotiations. However, I would state that there has been an attempt to try to mitigate the liability of the borough to the extent that that's possible. I am not aware, again, because I'm on the outside looking in, I'm not aware of any claims by others that have indicated that there has been a negative impact on the health and welfare of individuals because of this site. Yes, it is a site that needs remediation. Does it have the potential? Sure, all sites of this nature have the potential, but that doesn't mean that the potential ends up having come to fruition. So from my viewpoint, I think this, again, based upon what I know, this is the best alternative that can be put into effect. I would then suggest, Patrick, that that question be raised if you decide to do it at the council level.
Yeah, on just a personal opinion note, it seems to me that while this proposal and the other legal agreements all meet the letter of the law, it seems the spirit of the law, it's just ridiculous that a developer comes in, knowingly buys a property that is contaminated, forces the borough to make it profitable to build there, which 100 and some units, and it's just not what the law, I feel, was designed for, was to help the borough. This does nothing to help the borough other than to provide some affordable housing units, which we would have probably met without this. So I know it's a political, what do you call it, fait accompli, and it's going to move forward. But to me, it's just a vanity project that, that is being supported by the law. That's my
Well,
personal
I don't know that I can really comment on that. other than
Well,
to
no
say
one's
that
asking for comment. I'm making.
I'll
a
be
statement.
quiet.
All right, Ken, hold on one moment, Dan, can you, for some,
Yeah, so it sounds like, to the best of your knowledge and our understanding, is that we don't have the full picture or the exact terms of the settlement agreement between the borough and JSM, is that correct?
I have not seen I have not seen the settlement agreement, so the answer to that question is yes. What I understand, however, is that, and what you have heard is a major component of the settlement agreement, which is to say, excuse me, that there will be a modification of the intensity in terms of the number of units. It is further my understanding that as a result of that, this particular project will have some additional benefits to the development, which then at least inures to the benefit of the borough by way of the pocket park that this particular board back, whatever it was, was it 2023? Okay, had recommended, and it also provides for an access road that I think everyone has thought makes an awful lot of sense. So those are the things that I am aware of that are part of this agreement.
I mean, so in order for us to make as informed of a decision as possible on this proposal, wouldn't it behoove us to have a copy of the settlement?
Not necessarily, because what Patrick has raised is a theoretical question. There is nothing that I'm aware of that indicates that there is something that is out there that can be mitigated by this settlement agreement. If it turns out that in the future, and again, I am not aware and never have been made aware during the period of time that I've been familiar with Buckwoods, I'm not aware of any allegations that have been made by anyone indicating that there has been a specific health concern that has been raised. When I say that, a specific health issue that has occurred to an individual as a result of this site. And therefore, while, theoretically something could occur in the future, the fact of the matter is that this settlement agreement would not necessarily bind either the developer and or the borough. So I don't think that knowing what the actual terms of the settlement agreement is going to change that one iota.
Thanks.
Chris, I'm sorry, you said that the settlement agreement is public record? Or-
Yeah, I believe it was adopted by resolution of council.
Sure, that's true.
It's on the website, so it is out there, but I
guess I haven't read it.
sometimes it can be challenging with these resolutions and reviews and public hearings when we have a very, what I view as a narrow question set before us, and that sounds like from testimony, a question set that's already been answered once under the same exact facts and circumstances for this exact site, knowing it will then roll into impacting the larger development, and the larger development itself might have other problematic issues associated with it. But unfortunately, when it comes to statutory criteria and we're being asked, does this meet statutory criteria? We have an obligation not to be arbitrary and capricious in our review of things and to follow those criteria and make a decision based on that. So that is my very political answer on how we should look at this.
Quite frankly, I think that is very well stated and a lot less words than I ended up dealing with, so I appreciate that. I think that's exactly the case. Your jurisdiction is limited to whether or not you believe that that one or more of the 8 criteria in the law have been met. If it has, then it's your responsibility to make a decision and so state that to the governing body.
All right, Dan, I'm sorry.
I have a very quick question. Just if you know the road connecting 5th to 7th, is that going to be Graham or will it be further down the slope, or is that not going to be settled yet?
Further down, I believe when the public presentation was made back in March, the diagram showed connecting from Valentine to Donaldson.
Like kind of parallel to the bike path that's there?
I believe there are 2 different alternative routes.
Okay.
Part of that is trying to determine where the flood hazard or other DEP permits will be required.
That was it.
But you'll see that in a redevelopment plan and a site plan.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open up this public hearing to members of the public, as always prioritizing those members of the public who came out to see us. But seeing none, I'll ask if anyone at home wants to play along to be heard. Do you have any members of the public at home?
One, but nobody's.
Not raising their hand? Okay, then, seeing no members of the public interested in making comments, I will close the public portion of the hearing. And unless any members of the board have any further comments about this. All right, well, I had one final comment then. It's just to say that we have a member of council here, and while I appreciate and honor the role that our board has in the town functions, I also have faith in our council's ability to juggle the needs of the town with what their limitations and restrictions are as imposed by the law. So, which is my way of saying, Matt, take care of this, make it good, okay?
I certainly will do my best. And, just wanted to point out that when the council rejected it in 2013, I was not on the council. Decision on the 2013, just wanted to point that out for the record.
All right, so with that, I'll solicit a motion to answer the question of whether the Buckwoods property, as is commonly known, should be designated as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment in accordance with local redevelopment and housing law. Anybody?
Motion to answer that question in the affirmative.
Motion made.
Very, very concise. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded. Take a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brusher,
Yes.
Mr. Hale,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Linares,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Furman,
Yeah.
Mr. Stern Cardinal,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Hand.
Yes. All right, very good. With that, the motion passes and we can put that to the side. But Chris, I don't think you're ready to go anywhere just yet.
I am not.
All right, that brings us to the next topic on our agenda, a consistency review for ordinance number 26-2133, an ordinance of the Borough of Highland Park, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, adopting the 400 to 440 Raritan Avenue amended redevelopment plan, which expands, amends, and supersedes the 420 to 424 Raritan Avenue redevelopment plan. So I don't know if it's expanded just because it covers more properties or if there's more to that, but we'll turn it over to our planner to explain it to us.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I've indicated this is the 400 through 440 Barrett Avenue amended redevelopment plan prepared for this board dated July 1st, 2026. As indicated, this expands and really supersedes the 420, 424 Barrett Avenue redevelopment plan adopted just back in 2023. Similar agenda, we're going to go over the project area, where we located, some background as to why we are here. Brief overview of the redevelopment statute, requirements, existing conditions overview, relationship to other plans like the master plan, county, contiguous municipalities, and the state plan. And finally, really the bulk of the presentation is the vision for the project area, which frankly does not change much from the original project area vision, as well as what precisely was changed between the two plans. So we are located, this project area is located on the south side of Raritan Avenue between South 5th, South 4th Avenue, 6 properties, 13 tax lots, approximately 3.5 acres. For background purposes, again, 2016, the entire borough, including the project area, was designated as an area in need rehabilitation. 2022, Stop and Shop announced its closure, and quickly the borough authorized a study, which the planning board adopted, recommended to council, and found that the grocery store site, as well as the adjacent commercial properties fronting on Raritan Avenue, met the criteria as an area, a non-condemnation area need redevelopment. In 2023, a redevelopment plan called 420, 424 Raritan Avenue redevelopment plan was adopted. To be clear, the whole block of the commercial properties was studied, but a plan was only prepared for the grocery store. We were so focused on making sure that grocery store opened. And we also had some scenarios because frankly, in talks with the property owner, we want to give the flexibility to do infill building on Raritan to close that gap, perhaps a whole redevelopment, so long as there's a grocery store. That was the most important thing. So that was adopted in 2023, and just a few months later, 2024, Superfresh opens. So mission accomplished. Since that time, Wells Fargo changed hands to a new use, and recently the Landmark Supply Building, that's the corner building on South 5th in Raritan, they were listed for sale. And I met with the borough administrator, was someone who's interested in doing something with the building. And that was happening in the meantime. So we knew there was a need to potentially expand the redevelopment area because we didn't want disjointed zoning. And frankly, and it's a shame on myself and possibly on Mayor and Council, we probably should have done it in the first place, but we were so focused on making sure the grocery store had the zoning in place to make sure it was acquired use. But again, what we're really doing is sort of expanding the zoning to the full block, which we probably should have done in the first place. So, so this is sort of a visual effect on the map. The area outlined in orange line is the area that we studied. So note that the area that's not filled in, which is the Parktown Center with the post office and several businesses, including 418 Burger, great burger place. The Wells Fargo, which changed hands to Circle Ambulatory, which I think is a ABA program. This is, and then Landmark Building, other corner, opposite side. Those were not included in the plan. So this redevelopment plan is seeking to expand the zoning to the full block. In terms of the redevelopment procedure, it is, well, the area was already declared an area in need rehabilitation and was declared an area, a non-condemnation area in need redevelopment. So we can simply go through a typical land development ordinance process, which is an ordinance introduced by council, is before this body to determine it's substantially consistent with the master plan. Unlike a regular land development ordinance, it's make sure it's not inconsistent with the master plan. I love the statutes. And then it goes back to council for adoption. So we are right in the middle of this step. In terms of statutory criteria, there's 8 steps that a redevelopment plan must include. They include a statement, basically a discussion as to how it relates to local objectives. In other words, your master plan. 2, propose land uses and building requirements. That's basically the zoning requirements. Like what is it that's being put in place? And there's several related to affordable housing and residences. So we need to have provisions in place for relocation displaced residents, inventory of those housing units to be removed, a plan for replacement housing. Those 3 do not apply because there is no housing in this project area. Otherwise, there needs to be a statement of identification of property being acquired, typically through eminent domain. That's not happening because it's, again, a rehab designation and a non-condemnation area need redevelopment, which means condemnation is not permitted. So that's not being addressed since it's not applicable. Otherwise, in relation to neighboring communities, Middlesex County State Plan, some sort of relationship statement needs to be included, as well as a proposed zero emission vehicle charging infrastructure, some sort of statement about how we are addressing EV. So the planning board's role is simple. Is it substantially consistent with the master plan, or at least designed to effectuate the master plan? And two, when you are forwarded the plan, you have 45 days to act on it with a recommendation. The report could be in the form of resolution. Any statements that you feel that this plan is inconsistent with the master plan. So in terms of the existing land use, almost the entire site is commercial. That's depicted in red, with the parking lots on the South 4th Avenue that remains today. This really has not changed in decades. On the right side is existing zoning. The project area is outlined in white. You'll notice the blue, that is a 424 redevelopment plan, and you've got the little checkerboarded other zoning, CBD. What this plan aims to do is let's put it all into the same zoning. That way it makes it easier to assemble properties if that were to be useful for future redevelopment. Right, as you may recall, sometimes we have redevelopment projects coming because the developer interested to do something, or working with them to do a new plan. Or sometimes it's just to put zoning in place for future redevelopment. So we're sort of in that second phase, second prong of redevelopment. There is no project coming on that necessitated this updated plan. This is just to clean up the zoning and for greater flexibility in the future. In terms of its relation to the master plan, so this site is actually depicted in the downtown area segment or subplan of the land use plan adopted in 2019. Generally speaking, in terms of the relationship to the master plan, the goal of the downtown area is to leverage reinvestment, revitalization, infill, and redevelopment to expand opportunities for mixed-use development and support a walkable community with a vibrant, thriving downtown. We asked in the community survey back in 2019, how many of you would like to have downtown remain the same? Only 9% of respondents want to keep it the same. So a vast majority wanted to see change. And to effectuate that, part of the strategies includes custom tailoring infill through redevelopment, a wider mix of active ground floor uses, an expanded resident customer base, meaning put housing downtown, and a continued reinvestment along the corridor, which could be just as simple as streetscape improvements, closing driveways, or just new buildings with housing. In terms of its relationship to adjacent communities, this property is not physically contiguous to Edison, Piscataway, Brunswick, and to simply put, I anticipate that this plan will have no direct conflict with their master plans, as indicated in the report more fully. In terms of the state plan, the Route 27 is a shared regional corridor, and this plan's pedestrian and driveway improvements support both the county and state traffic calming goals. And again, Holland Park sits entirely within the metropolitan planning area, PA1 planning area, which they designated smart growth area under the state plan. So this plan is consistent with the state plan, county, and contiguous municipalities. In terms of the vision for the project area, you'll note that this is not that much different from the 2023 plan, which again was just for the grocery store site. So it's been slightly updated to reflect that a store is there. So the first vision statement is to support a thriving downtown, to really keep the grocery store as a required use. That will never change. Expand the customer base with residential living around it for potential future redevelopment. Revitalize the frontage. There'll always be a goal to close driveways, although that did not happen with the change from Fresh Super Fresh, and that's because the improvements that they proposed did not trigger a site plan. So there's really no hook to require a site plan, but we put in this plan little hooks to really consider that. And other improvements such as improving driveway connectivity is really having a second means of access from South 4th to South 5th without using Meriden, and then mitigating long-standing stormwater issues with green infrastructure if possible. There were 3 scenarios from the 2023 plan. This has been reincorporated by reference, but slightly updated to reflect what's changed. And that's because we have the store is renovated and it's existing. In the top right corner, you'll see references to the 2023 sketches. And you'll see there's not that much difference, and that's intentional. I just want to show the before and after in this case. Scenario A really looks at, it's really a light touch option, which is rehabilitate the existing grocery store. This is what happened. Superfresh reopened, but did not require site plan approval. What's new in this plan, there's a simplified path to a modest freestanding sign, about 24 square feet, but low in height with landscaping at the bottom. near the existing ingress. If that were to be contemplated, and I believe the property owner has interest in the sign, this redevelopment plan states that such a sign will be permitted, will not require site plan approval, provided that the driveway closes through a redevelopment agreement. So we put that as a hook in the plan to not create the burden going for site plan. What we want is the street, the driveway closed. Scenario B is not that much different from the 2023 plan. It's to permit an infill building along Meriden Avenue as shown in orange, and it could potentially expand to include the landmark building if that were to happen. That may not happen. A landmark building could stay the way it is and a new building right next to it. Some new zoning puts in place that frankly, it was missed in the 2023 plan, provide some light and air between the buildings, give a minimum 5-foot building separation requirement. Modest, but pretty typical in downtowns. Scenario C is a bit different only because it includes the 3 lots that we're now incorporating into this redevelopment plan. The area shown in the bold, sort of gold or orange color is the area where 5 stories is permitted. That was permitted in 2023 plan. It's just expanded to the 3 additional lots, but must be stepped back. Do recognize that being on the south side of Meriden Avenue, having a 5-story building right against the street and casts a big shadow on Meriden Avenue, and it's not something that we desire. And frankly, any site plan requires a redevelopment agreement, so it will require a lot of design review, similar to what we did with Track C. But this just puts in place as the basic zoning in place. And I anticipate any large redevelopment project really comes in place here. If it doesn't happen, will require an amended redevelopment plan. And in the back, the 5 stories right against the residential area, the building height has been reduced to 3 stories. And that's actually an improvement under the underlying zoning because the CBD zone that existed prior permits 4 stories. So this is intended to create a stepping down more in scale with the existing pattern on the streetscape, which has 2- and 3-story homes on the back of South 4th, South 5th, and on Magnolia. So this actually is an example of the redevelopment plan providing for better zoning. In terms of the zoning changes, well, I'll start with the existing zoning map. You see the slightly checkerboarded pattern within the project area with the red and the blue. This is intended to pull all of it into single zoning, with parcel A being really the grocery store site, and parcel B being simply put the other sites. In terms of the actual zoning changes, I really had to go through and figure out what exactly changed. There really wasn't much other than the full block consistent zoning. Again, scenario A is simplified to reflect that Superfresh is open, but to allow a modest freestanding monument sign be permitted without requiring site plan, condition on better screening and the closure of the driveway. That's what we really want. And so hopefully they want that sign so we can get that to happen. Otherwise, scenario B and C are really minor changes, really to be updated to reflect the full block scenario. The parking, this is interesting. This is sort of a test case. I wish Kahidra was here for this. So the parking standards are being updated. So this is really in respect to the landmark building. As you know, that building occupies the entire site. It has no parking. So we're adding in a parking standard that indicates that where there's a change of occupancy or use, basically a new business, any new business that does not add floor area, basically no site plan, they are now exempt from parking requirements.
Say that again, Chris.
If there is a building that wants to add, does not add floor area, it's just a new business, it doesn't matter what the use is, will be exempt from parking requirements. So it's a test. Otherwise, parking requirements will remain enforced with new construction. If you have a brand new building, they got to have the parking. But for existing buildings that existed for decades, well before zoning existed, why should we be in a position to require more parking? Where would the parking going to go? We're really trying to encourage that the market play its course and not be in a business of telling a business owner you can't come here because you have no parking. It's not their fault. So this is a test case that other downtown communities and cities have been thinking about, like really updating parking standards. And I think this is a good test case, particularly given the landmark building has no parking. They cannot control that. I don't think we want to shy away a nice small cafe with seating because they needed 1 additional parking space, for example. And Frank, that's really the main changes. I did talk about the minor changes to the building setback requirements. When there's multiple buildings on a site, there has to be 5-foot separation. Before there wasn't any. Other minor changes I didn't put on the list is updating bicycle parking standards and some other housekeeping, just to make this plan more consistent with other plans this board adopted over the past 3 or 5 years, including sustainable design features, encouraging all electric appliances. And that's really it. It's really a minor change. And frankly, we probably should have done this 3 years ago.
Thank you so much. To your point, we were in kind of a rush 3 years ago to get a grocery store in place and had all sorts of big hopes, and we got a lovely renovated building. And we hold out hope that someday in the future, they will in fact shut off that front access on Raritan Avenue that causes so much traffic. But me saying that, is there anyone on the board who would like to make comments or have questions for our planner? Anybody?
I'll go first again, I guess. So great testimony, and these reports are really great. Thank you, Chris. One question, a comment, and I think I've had it before about the redevelopment plan, so I'll just mention it as the transportation person. You know, there is a New Jersey Transit bus stop outside of the old Wells Fargo building. There's no real amenities for that bus stop. People sit on wooden, sit on curbs, waiting for the bus. I'm not sure if I saw it. I think I saw bus stops in this redevelopment plan, but now that you're adding those other parcels, it really is important to make sure that improved bus amenities are made available in any redevelopment. So I don't know if that's covered in some other thing here, but if not, or if it is, great. If not, it's maybe too late to get in there, but it really is important that you get a better bus amenities or whatever.
Yeah, I don't believe this plan directly addresses that. It may, if I recall correctly, does reference the bike ped plan, which might have touched upon in concept. I don't expect that to happen unless there is a redevelopment project, which may not happen. I think that's something we just need to talk to mayor and council about, promoting that, especially if there's a repaving project or the streetscape improvement. That would probably be the main mechanism to get that to happen instead of waiting for redevelopment.
I think it's a really good idea, and I think it's something that we should make sure that we consider if a redevelopment plan. We don't have one, but if there was one, that would be something we would definitely consider.
Yeah, but keep that in mind for track C.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I will open up the meeting to the public for the public comments on the consistency review and whether this is substantially consistent with our master plan. Seeing no one has joined us physically in the last 30 minutes, does anyone at home want to be heard? All right, then I will close. That was a no. I know no one else could see that no, so that was a no. I will close the public comment portion on the consistency review unless anyone.
I would only ask one other thing. As we indicated previously in the last hearing, we could end up having as A1 the presentation that you made is this one. So if you could provide that to both me and to the board secretary, pleasure.
Great. In which case, I will solicit a motion from the board to see if we find this new ordinance substantially consistent with our master plan. Anybody?
So moved.
All right, motion by Matt. Any second? Second by Alan. We'll take a roll call vote, please, Jim.
Mr. Brescher,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Linares,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Perlman.
Yes.
Mr. Stern Cardinal.
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Hand.
Yes. Chris, thank you so much. Double presentations in one night. I know that's a lot.
Okay, but we're-
Appreciate it.
Lots of work to get those double presentations.
Yeah, and they're with the settlement agreement, assuming it moves forward, the next one, we redevelopment plan, so it's gonna be busy,
At least
both for me and for Holland.
Hopefully then we'll see.
We're exploring how to clone Chris.
Good plan. All right, next we have review of some resolutions. We have resolution P 2026-2026-01 in the matter of master plan consistency review pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-31 capital improvement projects along South Third Avenue Plaza, block 3000, lots 5, 6, and 7. And in sum, we have a proposed resolution in front of us. Does anyone have any comments about it?
That was a matter that you acted upon in June, and it is now before you as a resolution. And therefore, I did not heard any suggested modifications. So therefore, I would recommend that the matter be approved.
Make a motion.
You need a motion for this? Yes. All right, then we have our motion. Thank you. Have a second? Seconded by Pedro. Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mr. Hale?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Mr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Linares?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Pearlman?
Yes.
Mr. Stern Cardinal?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Hand?
Yes, and I'll pass that on to Alan. All right, then that takes us to our second resolution review of the night, P 2026-02, resolution of the Borough of Highland Park Planning Board recommending that the property identified as block 3301, lot 27.01 on the tax map of the Borough of Highland Park, commonly known as Buckwoods, be designated as a non-condemnation redevelopment area. Wonder if we remember this application.
Madam Chair, this is a matter that, because there was an issue of timeframes, there was a desire to get this resolution in front of you today, even though you just voted on it today. As a result, because of certain personal issues that I ended up having in terms of moving, which I do not recommend any of you to ever do again. That's personal moving from one place to another. I was unable to get this done, so therefore your borough redevelopment council was kind enough to prepare this resolution. I've had the opportunity to look at it. I do think it's an accurate representation of the action you have taken here tonight, and therefore would recommend that this resolution be approved as indicated.
Well, I have one contact. We have a blank line on page 3, which I
really?
presume is Chris Cosenza, who gave our testimony,
Oh.
whose name's gonna go in there.
My original.
Ah, the good version has Chris's name
Oh.
in there. My version had a blank space.
All right.
So we're gonna trade real quick here. All right. Obviously, it does feel a little bit like fait accompli to have the resolution prepared the same night that we have the hearing, but in truth, because this matter's come before the board in advance, and frankly, it's a vacant lot. Section C says, is it a vacant lot? It was gonna be a hard one to refute. So that being said, does anyone have any objections to the terms of the resolution? All right, can I solicit a motion to approve the resolution?
Make a motion.
All right, motion.
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mr. Hale?
Yes.
Mr. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Linares?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Pearlman?
Yes.
Mr. Stern Cardinal?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Hand?
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I will end up doing the resolution for the action we took today on 2133.
Thank you very much. All right, then, that just takes us to our general gossip. Scott, anything interesting happen?
Hopefully it's short.
Very short. Nothing. It's summertime. People are on vacation. We have nothing going on.
It's only Chris is working over the summer. All right, then. Anyone have any comments on anything else happening in town or that we had going on before that anyone wants to bring up? All right, seeing none, I will oh, wait, I'm gonna open up the meeting to members of the public wishing to be heard on matters not on the agenda. Seeing no members of the public and nobody at home who wants to be heard, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and I will solicit a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, seconded by Alan Williams. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so very much, everybody. As always, it's greatly appreciated.